Yeah, I always say that.
It's always good content, man. That's the way it should be.
Right. So I can pull it right here, right?
Yeah.
Right there. And then let me know where I'm in the shot or.
Yeah, you're right here. You're good to go.
Okay.
I am good to go. I got you on the bigger screen. I'm on the little screen because nobody needs to see this. All right. So Mike Tipton, it is a tipping point with Mike Tipton. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I've got one of my good friends, a dude that's done some amazing stuff here in the city of El Paso. Got a lot of things working right now, so I know you're pretty effing busy. Those that remember the Now or Never Tony Romo story, right? You came out with that. It was just a whirlwind of everything that happened leading up to the actual, showing of the video. Going to Wisconsin and watching Tony Romo actually watch the movie with you and seeing his reaction to everything. What's going on with that? Because now it seems like it might be coming back.
Yeah, it actually is, Mike. It's really exciting. After we showed the film in 2019 all over Academy qualifying festivals, played in Rhode Island, which is funny because that's like Patriots country, and it played over there, which was funny. We had a couple Cowboy fans that came, right? And we showed it, and it did phenomenal all over the country. Tony Romo supported it from day one. We had a blast in Wisconsin. And he, I always told him, like, I want this thing to come out worldwide on distribution. So we signed with Octagon Entertainment at the time that, they represent a lot of different athletes, and they have like an athlete based like content, part branch for filmmaking, but with athletes. And so they loved this thing and they took it. And we entered the market in February 2020, which we know exactly what happened. And it's just crazy how things work. I mean, at the time, I thought we were ready to roll. And we're showing it. HBO's liking it. Amazon's liking it. Showtime's liking it. Netflix said it wasn't too broad for them. I think people would understand why. Not going to really get into it. But now with quarterbacks coming out, maybe this is a time, right? So we'll see what happens there before I say the news. But, it's... We entered the market, and NFL, started throwing some curveballs at us. So, this is great that you're doing this with Romo, and Tony loves it. And we're not very happy that you went around us, but you did this and we can't really shut it down, but we'll do it in different ways. And at the time, I definitely was a little angry about why are you going to shut this down when I'm a little fish? I am not going to really do anything to you, NFL. But as I started maturing more and understanding the business and understanding the market, understanding that the NFL's a business, they don't want everybody to think they can just walk into their house and do whatever you want. You're going to have to get in the house, follow the rules. And if you do that and abide by them, then maybe we'll work with you. And at the time, it was like, you're going to pay this crazy amount of money for 1 minute of NFL footage of Tony Romo playing with the Cowboys. And at the time, we had about 17 minutes of footage. It was like an hour and a half film, and it was just not working. So we're like, we're can't afford this amount of money. And then HBO was like, we love it, but it's too expensive. We love it, but it's too expensive. It's the pandemic. And that lasted till like end of 2021. Octagon kind of gave up on it, and that was sad too. And so there was these 2 years of nothing leading to 2022. And I started working on other projects, paying the bills, made 2 other films that I distributed with Exploration Films, a faith-based company, and Gravitas Ventures, who wanted the Tony Romo film, but they wanted all exclusive rights, which I couldn't give to them. So we went back to the drawing board and we cut down the film. And we realized in cutting this baby down that there was a lot of unnecessary fat there and we could trim it. So we made it more powerful. We re-added some scenes that we wanted there with the grandparents showing the Mexican-American roots that Tony Romo has, which us here in El Paso being Mexican-American, a lot of us, we don't even know Tony Romo's Mexican-American and came from a family of immigrants, right? And so we added all those elements back in. We cut down the footage. I was doing El Paso Media Fest as well, going on our 5th year, which I was also doing for those 2 years. So I started doing all these projects while I was still trying to push this. And so we cut it down. We concised it. Chris Aguirre, a former El Paso High student that went on to do amazing things with Netflix and Warner Brothers and did a lot of things for all the old school cartoons. He actually was one of the minds behind Space Jam at the time, which people don't know. He has a crazy story. But he came to Media Fest. I met him at Gallup Film Festival showing Now or Never, and he loved it. He saw us from El Paso. And later on, I connected with him. I said, I need you to do some illustration for me. So he drew Tony Romo, which I don't know if you saw that one. I think you saw that screening. Yes. So you saw some of that illustration and, limited amounts because I couldn't pay this guy either. And so he donated and gave me what I could. And so we could do that. And so we found just creative ways, which if you've seen the film, The Cut, which has changed a tiny bit because the one that I'm about to, release, which I'll talk about, that one is crisper. There's some differences, but for the better, right? But we had to get creative in how do we utilize 3 to 4 minutes of footage in an hour, 12-minute film where it feels like we're not being super little picky, right? Where it feels like it's actually there and it lives there and it's throughout the film without you feeling like, oh, this is not a Cowboys film. So we got really creative with it. And I think we, with Nina Hedberg, my partner, who did amazing, I have to give all the credit to her because she really became the mind behind, as I'm dealing with the business end and dealing with the NFL, she's the one cutting it and making it creative and fixing the graphics and making it more professional. And so you thought in 2019 you were ready, but then you realize you're not done yet. And you have to just abide by that fact and know that sometimes it takes longer than you think. I think I'm almost done. And so then we do that. And then here comes this new player called Players TV, right? And which I met through Jessica Nevares with KTSM, who I took with Tony Romo to meet. And now she's in Dallas. She works for the Stars. She works for Cowboys. I love her. She's awesome. And she was working for Players TV at the time, which they're a very obscure, like Samsung Plus network. And they were trying to grow. They were self-financed by NBA players and stuff. And they really liked them. They really wanted it. And they said, we'll pay the NFL. But then months came. I announced it. Nothing was happening. And one time I got a text saying, you can do whatever you want with it. And I realized, they weren't real. They maybe, were biting a little more than they could chew. And I understood. So I said, okay, so then what do I do now? Where is this thing going to be seen? This is ready to go. Tony Romo's forgetting about it, right? You start feeling the TV and watch Tony broadcasting because it will make me mad, not because of him and how amazing he is, but because I feel like I was failing him and I was failing the crew and the people that supported me because I just couldn't get it out there. And so it was a very frustrating time. A lot of doubt. And then you realize there just are the bad demons in you that are just trying to obscure from the fact that sometimes it takes a little more. It takes a little more in the gas. It takes a little more, a couple more miles to go. And so I changed my whole tactic and I said, no, it still has to be with the NFL. It still has to go through digital. So I need a distributor though. So I had done Art of a Cowboy, a PBS linked Western faith show, which I love. And it really changed my life with the people I met in Oklahoma and Texas. And I distributed that film alongside another film that I made on an Ivy League company here, my partner Daniel Valdez from Media Fest and their kids and going to Ivy Leagues. And so one went with Gravitas and Art of a Cowboy went with Exploration Films. And that was just me searching, sending emails, doing self-distribution. And I found these guys out of Monument, Colorado. And so Stephen Penn, who's my distributor now, he took Art of a Cowboy. It's about to show on Cowboy Channel, which is, if you know, it's literally the NFL network for cowboy content. And I'm not talking Dallas Cowboys. I'm talking like real Cowboys now, the rodeo, all that stuff. And it's going to premiere their Cowboy Channel, RDF-TV, which is the agriculture. So that's like another market I tapped into. And I just made another film with another ranch that commissioned us out of Wyoming, which is also going to be amazing. We filmed out there for 20 days. But so Steven, I told him about Now or Never. And I always felt like it was a little faithy. And it's not to turn people off, right? It's not preachy. But the Romo family definitely have a lot of faith. And it showed in the film in a very beautiful, organic way. And it was just a clean movie about a guy that, yes, played in the NFL, but has a lot of hope and faith in him and made it happen with his faith-infused family who truly believed they could make it happen. And so I showed it to Stephen Penn at Exploration Films and his partner. and they loved it. And they said, well, what's the situation? So I told them the whole thing. And then they were like, okay, well, how are you going to make this happen? And this and that. I said, listen, I will make it happen. I will try to get a 3 to 5 year license deal, and I will get the investors. Now, deep inside me, I'm like, I hope I can, but I just knew I had to do it. I knew it was, I don't know how, but I'm going to make it happen. And so they believed in that. And they said, if you get that 3 to 5 deal, not just with one platform, because the NFL said, oh, yeah, we'll pay you for just to be on Amazon Prime. And I said, I can just do one. My distributor needs to be able to do Prime and Apple and YouTube and Tubi so they can really attack it from all ends, not just one distribution, right? But they said, but they were so nice. They even said, if Amazon's all we got, then Amazon's all we got. I said, I'll try to give you more. So for months, I called the NFL, my contact at the NFL, called, annoyed, sent emails, showed them the film. And I said, I cannot work with just one. I said, I need you to give me as many digital platforms as possible for an X amount that's feasible for me to go to my investors, my guys that have believed in this project and help me get this thing out there. And so they gave me a 3-year deal for 4 minutes after, really getting after it. And they, it wasn't an easy amount to come up with either, right? But it was feasible. And I didn't know at the time if I was going to pull it off, and I was saving, and I'm like, well, how about you give it to me in payments? And the NFL agreed. And then they agreed to not only do one platform, but do multiple, as long as it's rent and buy, which I was like, I can work with this. Because then after a year of analytics, then we can take it back. And they said, and you can still go to HBO and Amazon and try to get it, and we'll tackle that as a different deal. Obviously, they'll have to be compensated again, but we'll allow you to do that again. We'll allow you to go and do that. And I said, wow. So for 3 years, we're able to get it on Amazon Prime, on Apple TV, on YouTube, on Tubi. I mean, Vimeo, the sky's the limit now, right? It's amazing. And it still hasn't hit because it's barely passing through quality control because Apple and iTunes, they can be a little difficult. But yeah, so we signed the deal with Exploration Films, and we signed the deal. And even with them, it was amazing because it wasn't they understood how much we've invested in this. And David Garman, I gotta shout him out, and 915 Tours. He came through for me since day one. Lauren Hodges, Longhorn Distributing, a personal friend of mine, Nancy Damas. I mean, just people that believed in me as a person. And that's what people don't realize. It's not just the project. You're selling you. You are your project. Your project is you. And so people are not going to invest in your project. They're investing in you. They love the project, but ultimately they want you more. They love you. And if they don't, then it's not going to work. And so that was a big learning curve. And so they all came, they saw the figure, and everybody came together. They all did it. And, the most amazing thing in my life was literally paying pretty much everything ahead of time, because I thought we were going to need all 3 payments, and going to FedEx and going to the bank and getting the, the check that said to NFL Films and sending it out there and then getting it paid. And then later telling them, I need a trailer. You'll never wanted me to use a trailer, but I need to promote this thing online everywhere to promote it. We'll allow you to do that, Chris, but please make sure that you blur out the Under Armour logo on Tony's shirt because they're no longer partners with the NFL. And I said, that is no problem. We'll get it done at this point. Whatever you want, NFL, we'll get it. But see, that taught me a big, valuable lesson in that you're playing with the big dogs here. And you got to abide by it. When you're the little fish, you don't want to get eaten by the big fish because they will. You got to play along and not get eaten. And then eventually you'll grow and grow and grow, and they'll find respect. And because I was able to look eye to eye with them, and I was able to do everything by the book, I think they respected that. They respected my patience, and they finally are allowing this thing to see the light of day. And I just, I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because for the longest time it haunted me making something that I wanted to make for so long. And I actually did it, but nobody can enjoy it. Nobody can see it. Nobody can be inspired by it. And I hope they're not just inspired by Tony's life, but they're inspired by the way this was made and brought to the finish line so that you too can make it happen. I won't tell you it's easy. Nothing great is easy. But when you achieve it, it'll still be surreal when you achieve it because it feels like you didn't. But when you do, you got to just thank God, and you got to thank everybody around you that made it possible, because nobody gets to the mountain alone.
I love the fact that you have like that as your story, right? Because a lot of people, uh, very few people are going to know this unless they've like tuned into some of the stuff that you've done in the past, like, you know, seen the whole story the way that I've seen the whole story, right? You come out, we got it at the El Paso Media Fest, August 3rd, 2019. Horrible, horrible, horrible thing that happened here in El Paso kind of derails that stuff going on. You start getting yourself a little bit of momentum. February 2020, what happens next month? The worst thing that we've seen in quite some time. Right?
Yeah.
So that lasts for so long. And then, like you said, because I kept thinking about this too, like just how hard that struggle had to be for you to be like, I've got this thing. It's good. Like it is really good. But I wonder if like there's a party that says, you know what? I'm so glad that it happened this way, because now look at what you're about to do. Look at how you're you know, almost at that top of the mountain where you had to climb and suffer and go through all of that growing pain and that learning curve and everything that you had to go through. Is there a party that looks at that and is like, you know what? I'm glad it happened this way.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it, Mike. I speak to my girlfriend about this all the time. I don't think we were ready then for tackling something like this. You know, I think people would have looked at us like they're just kids. They don't really know what they're doing. And at the time when I first started this, you know, I was barely turning 25, right? I'm 30 now. I feel like an old man, right? I'll be 31 next month. And so 5 years can go a long way, because I think, you know, Tony says it in the film, and it's just so crazy how linear it is between my struggle to get this film to then the story that he's telling in the film. And there's just so many linear, if you've seen both and you heard my story and you've seen the film, it's like he says it, it's like you almost really try to come back after those dark times, right? Like he says, and you're just so obsessed to get it done and learn from it, because it only makes you stronger. And so you're right. I look back and I think that was just lessons I had to deal with in order to tackle the next projects that I'm working on, where I understand now, how much do I need from licensing? Do I even need licensing? Go with also this music situation that I also had to tackle after the NFL. It was like, okay, now I have to circle back with all these artists and with my guy at the time that scored this, that I haven't heard from him in years. Got a divorce. I don't know where he's at right now mentally. So I had to tackle that after this, and then figure out the whole licensing situation and compensating them with equity and figuring it out. And so one thing is, 5 years ago, I just wanted to make a film. Besides, I had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. I was playing the part. I was faking it till I make it. And I feel like now I'm not faking it. I feel like now I'm making it because I understand how to get there. And so I'm getting there. I'm almost at the top of the mountain when I can buy my own movie digitally, because I don't care. Yeah. When I do that, that's when I made it. I did it. I did something that if I was to die tomorrow, I'd be happy with that, because I'd be happy with what I've done in my life as a young filmmaker, not being linked to Hollywood, not having the crazy amounts of money, obscene amounts of money that they're paying producers, that they're not paying their actors. And that's another discussion, right? But I am happy to be the catalyst, especially in a small town, and with sometimes a mentality that doesn't help us get better. And I want to be the catalyst for documentary filmmaking, to tell people like, it's gonna take a while and you can do this. And you can be mad at how it's going, because everybody has a different path, a different road. Tony Romo's had a draft party. He thought he was gonna be a 5th round pick, but he went undrafted. And then what happened after he went undrafted? He became somebody. He became Tony Romo, number 9. He became one of the most talked about broadcasters in NFL history now. And his road was very similar to ours right now. And
even the road with the Dallas Cowboys, right? Like all the ups and downs and like everything that happened to him, the injuries, especially late on in his career. For
the catch, everything.
Yeah, for him to still be able to be that guy with that personality, it just shows you like he's built differently.
Exactly. And I feel like he might have seen that in me when I tackled it. I mean, first time I saw him on the field and I was so intimidated. And he asked me, I hear you're trying to make this film about me. And I was like, yeah, I'm trying. Will you let me? And he gave me a chance. And I was nerding out, asking him a question about the Rams play, and knowing that he played it. And I was almost describing it like a broadcaster. And he was smirking. I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm fangirling right now, and fanboying or whatnot. And And so, I feel like as we got and he loved the film and we screened it and he helped with festivals and he called the NFL, see what could be done. I think at some point in 2021, 2022, with everything that has happened, his grandfather also passed in 2020, which was crazy because we had just filmed them. And I think that's why it's even more special to him, right? And we're able to go back and put in loving memory because I met him. I took his grandparents to a screening in Dallas at Video Fest. I drove them. And so I became personal with his family too, and so I think at some point, he kind of realized I need to let him do it. I can't keep helping him. People always ask, why doesn't he pay for it? Doesn't work that way. This is not his film. It is about him. And it is his film. I see it that way. But he sees it, it's my film. He let me do it. Like he got that opportunity to go to the NFL. How are you going to do it? How are you going to make it happen? And I thank him so much for letting me go through it alone with my team, struggle through it, finding other people that came together to make it happen as a foundation, as a community, the way that it did in Burlington for him. And so I look back and I am very, very grateful that it happened this way. As tough as people say, no way, you think that, I wouldn't be who I am today. I won't be who I will be in the future tackling next projects if it wasn't for this crazy, insane journey that I went trying to make a film about my hero, Tony Romo.
I love like that mindset because even though I've done like this media stuff for, God knows how long, whenever I go to like Mexico City for a Monday Night Football game, I'm there just like outside the stadium. I'm looking at the crowd like the game doesn't necessarily matter as much as like I can't believe the kid from Socorro is able to do this stuff, right? Like I'm at the NFL draft just hanging out.
Yeah.
The kid from Socorro is able to like do this. So like I get where you're at, man, where you're like, I'm gonna buy my own movie because I would too, man. Like that's a huge thing. Like I made this, I'm owning it now. Like it's just such a different mindset that you have, and I'm glad that that's something that you've got. So I know you've got a showing that's going to happen in the next couple of days. You've also got some other big news with the movie as well. What's the future like for you? Like the near future, because it's right around the corner. What's that like?
Yeah. So we do have, and I'll actually show it. I'll get it right here. So first off, after we were done with everything, I texted Tony's dad and I said I got a few things I would like to get signed. We want to definitely raise funds for this other project that we're doing because it's hard, right? When you want to, this was self-financed, right? And we have some more that others that were self-financing. And so, but we also want to give back and we want to do charity events with merch and do raffles and all that. So they were so given that, I sent about 100 Blu-rays to Tony, which they will be the only ones for a couple of years. And they were all signed. Now this one's a special one for me because he signed in the disc and it's emotional for me because this is the catalyst of all the hard work, and I said until I have a Blu-ray to show him that it's done and will be distributed digitally. Hopefully Blu-rays will be next, right? But I'm attracting it, right? I'm putting it out there that this might be the next thing for people to own us and the next memorabilia piece, because to Cowboy fans, to football sports, everything, memorabilia is such a big thing and people love it because it's more than just owning it, it's feeling it, right? And so he did all that, and we're having this screening, a distribution party at the Alamo Drafthouse East. I hope to bring it to the west side, but the east side is full of great Cowboy fans that love it. And so we're having a distribution special screening at the Alamo Drafthouse East from 6 to 9 p.m. this Wednesday. We're already over half sold out, which is amazing. If you look at the City Magazine, that's where you can go buy your tickets online. We will be selling at the door. El Paso is definitely a last minute. Let's go to the door and buy our ticket. We will be taking cash as well, so that's okay. But we'll be selling merchandise. We'll have raffle tickets. We'll have official Now or Never Tony Romo Story t-shirts. Right now, we have a VIP package that includes your meal, your drink, your official shirt, and a raffle ticket to Tony Romo signed swag. and then we'll have the general admission. And I do understand if you go there and you see the tickets, they are on the little high margin side, and that's due to paying the theater for expenses to be recouped, and because it's not easy to show a film at a big theater like Alamo Drafthouse East and 5.1 sound, right? It takes a lot of doing to do that, and so that's why. But we want to do it to be happy and celebrate this distribution that will be happening this fall 2023, all over digital. There's some dates already in the works, but we're not going to say the dates until we're completely sure about them once we pass quality control. Tony's dad asked me when already last night, and so he probably will post about it. And I think once Tony Romo posts about it, then it's completely real. It's like it's done, it's made, moving on. And I'll celebrate it, obviously, but I got a lot in the works already. So I hope you come out, and I hope you come out and support the El Paso crew. I mean, how many films really get made from El Pasoans? There's always a lot of people from all over the country that come and tell our stories, and they involve other crew members that are equally as talented as them, but as below the line, right? And this was above the line for everybody, from production to post-production, pre-production, editors, producers, directors, everything. Cinematographers was El Pasoan. So come and support El Paso art. We always say no one from El Paso ever makes it in film. Well, we're proving that we're getting to a level where we can be respected, right?
And you're working your ass off.
Exactly. It's not just given. We weren't born in a royalty family in Hollywood to be able to just be inherited the money to make films. We had to make it happen. And so I hope you can come and support and enjoy that, right? This Wednesday. But again, if you can't, that's okay. It will be on digital this fall in the comfort of your home with your Tony Romo jersey and your popcorn and your blue drink. And celebrating. I have a blue Hawaiian for me, because that's what I'll be having on Wednesday to celebrate it. Because I love my Cowboys, even though they give me headaches all the time. I will always be a Cowboys fan. But yeah, you were talking about the future, and so I always wanted to start building more assets, more films, and I learned the art of self-financing. And obviously you need other people, and it doesn't always work. People say, oh, it's not that easy to find people to give you money. My approach and my tactic is you got to start yourself and make a project you start yourself. And that's how you then present. I did the self-financing first, then I started presenting what I had, and then people came on board. And so that's how it's kind of changed my life, right? So earlier last year, I messaged one of my favorite figure skaters who happens to be Canadian, and I love my country. I love USA. Always support them in the Olympics, but I'm a big figure skater fan. And so just this year with Nathan Shin winning, the Olympics, we're starting to come up, but it's always been other countries that always, kind of are better at figure skating. And so this girl, Gabby Delman, really shocked the skating world for quitting before Simone Biles quit in the Olympics. She actually surprised Team Canada by quitting because of mental health and so many injuries that she had during her gold medalist run. She's a gold medalist for Team Canada. And so I thought, I want to make a female story. I know there's a lot coming with Barbie and female directors and things like that, but why can't I direct a film about a female figure skater if I know the same way as I did with Tony Romo? I think we should be able to. So at first, I didn't know how receptive she was going to be about it. And I saw her Canadian championships and the energy that her parents brought and this and that. So I pulled the all Tony Romo messaging the person or messaging the people close to them again. I said, it worked once. Let's see what happens. So I went ahead and I DM'd her on Instagram, and I sent her the link to the Tony Romo film, a private thing. And I sent my email, and next thing you know, her dad is emailing back, and she messaged me back and said she's interested. And so a few months later, again, same story. I fly out by myself on my own dime to Toronto. I'm meeting them at this fancy figure skating club where Drake's son also skates in, and which I didn't know. And so I'm in Canada and Toronto, never been there. And I'm meeting this girl, and she's awesome. And she is that character that I wanted and that person that I wanted. And so she gave me a chance. So I told her, hey, I'll self-finance it. Just give me your time and you'll be compensated when we get this thing out to Toronto International Film Festival, because she's a celebrity there. So the plan is to get this film done for next fall in October 2024, and we'll premiere it at Toronto International Film Festival, because that's how you learn. You learn that, okay, Team Canada is more chill about licensing, but we filmed so much. We filmed like 30 days worth of footage. And so we film so much so that we don't really need that much licensing, right? So that's how I learned from Now or Never. Then we also did this thing with Art of a Cowboy that I talked about. They started commissioning us other ranches, one in Wyoming that has a phenomenal story. So this one we're making is called Lucky Seven Angus, an Art of a Cowboy story. Now that it's going to the Cowboy Channel and all that, we're trying to build this Art of a Cowboy universe with the season and the Steve Bolden story and all that. And then another one that I'm working on, well, two actually. I also did a narrative feature in this January with Greg Sestero, who's very known in El Paso now because he comes here a lot. And he's an actor that was in the Citizen Kane of bad movies, The Room, who wrote The Disaster Artist, that was then put as a film and got a lot of awards with James Franco and Dave Franco and Seth Rogen, and got on Netflix. So me and him became really good friends over football and bringing him to El Paso Media Fest as a celebrity. And so I directed a film called On the Edge of Freedom, which was inspired by Art of a Cowboy, a faith-based Western story about an actor and him being sent to a ranch after some stuff happens with drinking and partying and all that, and he's sent to this ranch in Hyco, Texas, and we filmed part of it here in Socorro, Texas, which Socorro, shout out, they were amazing at giving us the courthouse, and we worked with real cops and a lot of things. So it was like a little step into narrative again, which was my passion, but now it's documentary, but I got back into that. And so the film is about this cowboy that changes his life and he finds his faith again. And so we're almost done editing that one. That one was also a grant that we won with MCAT, with their incubator program. So we submitted that script and we won a small grant with them that helped us get this going. Self-finance also. And we made this 100% Texan feature, which we're scheduled to premiere at the Billy the Kid Film Festival in Hyco, Texas, where it started, and then see where it goes from there. And then finally, so I'm working on all that right now. I got like 4 in post, a film we're doing, we're promoting Now or Never. Then finally, one that I'm so excited about because we're actually filming right now. We started this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I went to Bel Air High School. I was like they said, I'm a Valley kid. Valley kids don't die. I grew up in Garborough in the Valley, close to the border, where I got my start with everything. And Bel Air was always good to me. I think I've told you this before. I fell in love with this, the Scottish way and the bagpipes and the school spirit. And so I told myself one day I'd come back and make something with Bel Air football. So then in 2019 that started, and the pandemic happened. And then finally, this year, we were able to go with the district and make a whole pitch deck about it. And we're literally making the first, I believe, docu-series on a football team, if not the Lower Valley or in El Paso. I know there's been films about baseball teams and soccer teams, but there's never been a full-on docu-series where you're following a team from before the season starts all the way the entire season, the playoffs, following the kids, following the coaches. So basically, Hard Knocks, preseason, during the season, playoffs, everything, high school style, Lower Valley style, Shuko style, 915 style, about El Paso, from El Paso. And I'll be the first one to say that everybody that's on the crew live here in this town. We're employing, Raul Hernandez from Rap Visuals as one of our camera ops. 2 other great guys that came up. We're shooting it all with 4 Netflix approved cameras because we're not playing here. We want this series to get some national attention. Netflix loves their football series, their high school series. So does HBO, so does Amazon. And so we're going to make a national potential series about the Valley, about Bel Air Highlanders, about the kids, how football's a way in. And so we started Wednesday, Thursday. We did the scrimmage against Coronado, which was amazing. And I felt like an actual director during that day. Never really felt that with the Tony Romo film, but actually directing there as things are happening and writing as you're going. Because God knows, last year they went 8-0 and they did amazing. And this year, we don't know what's going to happen. And so we're not here just because they're winning or why not. We're here to tell a story about kids, whether they're winning or losing. We want to tell a true story about human nature and human spirit and our kids and our community of El Paso, and try to show the truth. So this week's exciting because we're filming week 1 at Irving, and it's an away game. So it's like, coach even said it, you do you and we do us. And that's what's so amazing about it, is that you show up to the locker room and they were all ready. They were all coached for it. We're just filming. It feels like these guys are NFL players because they're not even looking at the camera. They're just doing them. And so I just found myself thinking, this is going to be pretty awesome. This has potential. And shout out to YISD for, again, giving me a chance. I mean, I don't think it would have been possible without, the credibility of working with Tony Romo and bringing this film home. But they allowed me to make the series. And so we have full access with them for the entire season and after the season. And so, yeah, it's a marathon. So we're going to tackle it as that.
I mean, you talk about everything that you have going on right now. Like, how hard is it to find like any balance, or is this really what you just like, this is, you made up your mind, like, this is what I'm going to do, and now I'm just going to dive all in?
That's it, man. I am just going to dive all in. I mean, this is my purpose. When this thing, I'm sorry if I get emotional, but when this thing happened with Tony Romo, how do you not take that as a sign that this is my purpose? If it doesn't work out financially one day, I'm sure there are other jobs I can take. But until it can, I will keep doing this. I will keep making inspirational films about my people. And that's the one thing I realized, Tony is Mexican American, but I never came back and I haven't made a film about my people. I've never really made a documentary, big project about my people, my community. And so this is my way of giving back to our kids, to our communities, to Yucca area, to the Valley, one of the most forgotten areas of El Paso, I feel now, with the growing East Side and the West Side always being the cool place and Central being historic, which is all great. And we do want to we're going to capture El Paso because we're going to capture all the other schools where they go play, and we will capture all those areas and their communities as well. But to be able to give back, and like you said, I took this as a sign, and so I'm gonna do it for as long as I can.
I mean, hopefully it keeps going and going and going, man, because the ideas that you have and the fact that you're, focused so much on this community, like you said, that is always forgotten for whatever reason, right? Like, yeah, El Paso is the 20th largest city in the country or whatever, but when you look at Texas, you don't think El Paso.
No.
You think Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, Austin, Fort Worth, like all these other places before you think of El Paso. And it's just nice to see, and it's kind of like refreshing as someone that's from here. You know what I mean? Like, we're both from this area. It's nice to see that there's actual talent and like the cultivating of talent and like it's staying here to make a difference, because we've seen so many people be from here but not stay. And I think that's the thing that really sticks out to me about what you're doing. So I thank you for that.
Oh, well, I appreciate it, Mike. And, it's crazy because I never thought, when I just thought of one guy that had, the equipment, like Raul, he's been here. He never leaves. He grew up in LA, but he stayed here. And so there's a lack of work because we're not making bigger projects. We're staying very grounded to, short films and not really growing into what's marketable. And so a lot of people don't like, they're starting to, I feel like people that say documentary, they're not really saying it anymore because deep inside they know documentary is cool now. It's hip. It's fun. People are talking about Hard Knocks. I mean, these 2 episodes were awesome, and I don't like Aaron Rodgers, okay? But I studied it because I want this to be the Lower Valley Hard Knocks. That's what I'm going for. So I'm telling my DP, who, this young kid from Franklin, 23-year-old that I picked up, I felt like he was like being treated like a 3rd string running back by these other production companies when he was a 1st string, and I saw his talent and I said, you got to start DPing. And so I self-financed. I bought this Netflix approved FX6 Sony camera so I could not rent all the time. But then also, like you said about cultivating our talent, Gilbert Jorgensen, who's just around the corner here with Star Central Studios, and Leo Marketing from Cathedral, we'll shout him out because he always says he gives back and he gives good rates to people and their films. And he really does. If you're a filmmaker listening to this, he really does. He really works with you. And so he's seen everything that I've been doing. And so he rented all our equipment for Toronto even before I didn't have the camera. Then I got it. Now he's, with the whole series, he went to the district and he said Chris will have what he needs to make this, because we're tired of other people coming and telling our stories. We got to tell our stories. There are camera people that have the equipment here, right? That want to do this. So then it's crazy. Just today, last night, I posted I still needed 2 more cameramen. And I never thought that there were other camera people that had Netflix approved gear here. I was like, no way. But little did I know, I posted it, and some of these I say kids, but they're younger than me, but professional people that they started their own companies and stuff like that. They freelancers, they reached out to me on Instagram and they saw my posting and they've been following it. And one kid, they both have an FX3 Sony Netflix approved, right? And which I didn't know. And so one of them was an intern for NFL Films and wants to go back and is working doing game footage for UTEP. And he heard about this and said, I want to be one of your camera people. I'll work with your Ray. And said, this is what I can do right now. We'll renegotiate as more funding starts coming, right? And they're like, we're in. I want to be part of this. I want to so in the other guy too. So then now, for the next 2 games, I'm going to have 3 to 4 Netflix approved camera operators, like living the dream like Hollywood, right? Because that's as many they have, 4 or 5, right? And so we're making something. We're not just, another thing too is if you're going to make something, I know you got to start somewhere. We all been there. But as you grow up, you do have to evolve and meet industry standards, because then you're not going to get to that level. So you have to invest to play. Sadly, that's the way the country and the world runs. So, and sadly, not everybody can be at that level, but have patience and work hard, and eventually you'll get there. I didn't always have this FXX. I just got it this year, right? I film my other films with A7SS2s, right? Which are not Netflix approved, but I still distributed them, right? So you start somewhere and you build up and go from there. But what's amazing is that there are a lot of talent that are investing on equipment, that are getting ready for this. And so now I'm just thinking like, wow, like I'm going to be directing these 4 camera ops people and my partner and sound mixer, and they all live in this town. They all contribute to the economy in this town. And so now they're going to be working on a big major docuseries that can potentially get on a big streamer like Netflix. And they're from the town that they're making the film about.
That to me is like the most awesome part about it, is that, again, like it's people in El Paso that can inspire people from El Paso to like just keep going and doing more. And like that to me is just so awesome. And like you said, like you and I got that together. Like we're both from the Valley. I'm from down in Socorro. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like seeing people like us lay the foundation for what the future can be. That to me is like the best legacy I can leave behind. If there's a kid that's like down there in Socorro that's like, I want to go work at ESPN, and they saw my goofy ass do it, dude, you could probably do better than me.
Yeah.
I mean? And I want you to do better than me. And you can like start building and doing like all that stuff, but it has to start somewhere. And like you said, man, me doing all this stuff, again, all self-funded, right? I've got to work multiple jobs and do all the other stuff just so that way I can keep doing this. But I do it because I love it so much. And even if there's one person that watches, you know what? That one person, it might be the thing that makes their day.
See, and that's the key point here is the money will not always be there. Mm-hmm. Why are you doing this? And as long as you're reminded every day why you're doing this, life will be good. We're only in this world once, right? So as long as you don't forget why you're doing this, you're gonna be happy most of the time. I understand things happen, stress happens. Most sadness and bad happens from stress and frustration, right? But really, once you hang on to why you're doing this, and I mean, I've always admired you from being on Heart Radio and Fox Sports and all the great things that you've done and giving back by having me here and talking to you and always being showing up to screenings and supporting. And so I want to be that. That's why I started Media Fest for people, right? And one thing I do want to talk about too is, I've seen, I started Media Fest because I wanted to support other filmmakers that are starting. And I feel like we get in this mentality sometimes where if, for example, this thing is finally coming, and I've gotten to the point where some people like, it's like they don't want to acknowledge it's coming out because they don't want to feel like it is. And that's when the whole hating thing happens. But one thing I want to remind people is, like you and I, we started somewhere. We started from nothing, and now we're where we're at, right? And we have so much more we want to do. So can you. And I'm here to say, I'm here to help people. That's why I started Media Fest, to give a platform to other people to get going and get started with their arts. And so I hope that they don't see it as this mentality of the crabs, right? Of always trying to bring people down. No, if we all just keep climbing together, we'll get there. And I know it's a very niche way to think about the world. You know, not everything's butterflies, right? But
it should be though. Like,
yeah.
There's all these promoters and like events and stuff like that, and people are always be like, oh, you know, this person's taking this idea from this person, and they're trying to do this and that, and like they're just saying all these negative things, and like to me, it's like this city is big. Again, the 20th largest city in the country, right? There's almost 1 million people that live here. We're big enough to have multiple people doing the things that we do.
Yeah.
It would be as silly as me saying like, "Oh, I can't believe there's another podcast out there that talks about sports and then talks to other people." That's ridiculous, man. Because people have a different view than I do. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like, come on, man. Like, there's more than enough for all of us. There's more. Than
Exactly. And you know, when I started Media Fest, it was like I went from being a filmmaker to being a festival programmer, festival manager. And so then I saw the other people doing festivals getting a little weird about it because now it was like their enemy. And then I had to remind them, like, dude, the more festivals we have in this town, look at how many film festivals there are in LA, there are in New York. You know, there's so many festivals. The more festivals there are, the more people get to show their films. So this is for the people. When you're in that type of service, you're not there for the money. You're there to servicing people. It's an event that should service people, and that's the filmmakers, right? Now I understand when you're a filmmaker, everybody has this thing, or artist, or oh, I gotta be the best. I gotta be the best here. No. You gotta be the best version of yourself. You gotta be the best filmmaker you can be. And you will make films that some people won't like, and you'll make films that people will love, right? And then other filmmakers will make other films that they love, you know, that person's films, but they didn't love yours. And so, like you said, everybody will have their own thing, and so be happy with that, right? And I understand that, you know, I'm mainly I guess a sports documentarian right now because people see me as that. But I am doing other things too, and I am proving that. You know, I did this 48-hour film challenge last year just to, you know, I was getting a little tired of people telling me all I am as a documentarian, and I said I started as a narrative. I will show you. So I worked with Raul. We made this film, and we got we won best cinematography, best actor, best film. And since then, actors were like, we want to work with you and this and that. Oh, you're not just a documentarian, and you cannot put one person in a box. You know, not because I'm doing this now doesn't mean that I don't want to make a horror film one day. Like, and that's, you know, I don't want to be a niche. I want a specific thing. I want to just, people tell me, what kind of films do you make? I make the films where the story I feel is the one I should tell right now. That can be a Western film. That can be a film about kids. That can be a film about Romo. That can be a film about these kids of Bel Air. Film about Gabby, right? So it's like, where is my mindset right now? What stories are driving me right now? What's inspiring me right now? And so that's the kind of filmmaker that I am. So what filmmaker are you going to be? If you want to be a horror, awesome. Be that. Commit. Be the best you can be. But also, don't just think about your art, because, you know, my girlfriend and I were talking about it yesterday. It's not just ours. It's the people's. Because ultimately the people will consume it, and ultimately you won't make a living unless people consume it. So you can't just make a film for yourself, as we've seen with major directors this year that made films that were very, very just them, and they flopped because people didn't understand what the hell they were trying to say.
Yeah.
And so you have to know that at the end of the day, if you want to be marketable, you want to make a living, you have to abide by the audience and make sure that you're making something that people will enjoy and want to watch. And that's the way it is. I'd say that's my opinion, right?
Yeah. And I'm glad that you kind of brought that up, because I've had the same issue with a lot of people, right? Like, I made my, career, so to speak, like in sports. But I also feel like I would just want to tell people stories, right?
Yeah.
Like, just come on here. Let's talk a little bit about like what got you to where you are and what the next plan is. But it's like, no, you can't be that type of person because you're a sports guy. Well, says who? Like, until I'm like, I do nothing but sports, I want to be a bunch of other little things. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, I'm glad that you have that mindset. And I feel like more people need to have that mindset, right? Because the second you say I'm only this, then that's all you'll ever be.
Yeah, you're definitely right at that. And I mean, when you're saying telling people stories or you're all sports, are people that do sports not people?
Yeah.
And that's the one thing, and we want to get into it. That was the big thing here. It's like people forget the helmet. People forget there's a person inside the helmet. And sometimes we feel all people want to hear is, did they catch the ball? Are they injured? Are they winning a Super Bowl? Are the analytics, numbers, numbers, numbers? And then they forget that these are people doing this with actual emotions and lives and have stories and have more passions than just the game they play.
Skip Bayless with DeMar Hamlin. Remember that?
Yeah.
Guy has a heart attack on the field. Oh, how's this going to implicate the standings? Dude, he's still on the field.
And look, Skip's fun. I love the Skip Bayless show, but it's just crazy that he's still going right now after that people just kind of shook it off. And I mean, smart man, because he right away went into, no, I didn't mean that, blah blah blah, right? Sometimes you get lucky with that. But you're right. I remember watching that and being like, bro, that's a human being that almost died in front of millions of people.
Well, and then like his family has to experience that moment with everybody watching. Like,
yeah.
That to me was like, oh wow. And like again, I'm glad that, well, not glad, but like you need to remember like there's humanity here. Like the thing with Simone Biles where people were like, oh, how can she just give up? No, she needed to, right? Like if that's what she needed at that moment, sucks for the U.S. gymnastics team, but it's better for her.
It's showing that there's more than life than just winning.
Yeah,
because it's also she won. Yes, it's also like, how are you feeling right now? How are you okay? You've won already. You've done enough already for people to enjoy your winning. Because at the end of the day, we're cheering for them, but they're the ones accomplishing stuff, right? And we got to know that too. And we're there and cheering and stuff. But what are you also going to accomplish, right? Mm-hmm. And we get too caught up in just cheering for people. We should also be cheering for ourselves and doing big things, right? And that was a big thing that I grew up with, that I was always like, oh, the Cowboys and this and that, and my day is ruined and blah, blah. And that's part of growing up. And then you realize, well, you win, you lose. At the end of the day, that's their lives. And obviously, you're in this mentality where you want your sports team to win always, but you have to be mature enough to know that it is what it is. It's just a game. At the end of the day, it's a game that they play in the NFL and the NHL and NBA. It's a form of entertainment. It's show, it's media.
At the end of the day, it's business.
And at the end of the day, it's business. And so going back to Simone Biles, like, she's getting ready to go back to the Olympics, and I don't doubt she'll win a couple gold medals again, because she gave herself that attention to say, I'm going to take care of myself and then I'll be back stronger. And see, sometimes you have to do that to be better.
Chris, it's always a fun time whenever I get to talk to you, my guy. We got to catch up some more, but the main thing, let's try to get people excited about what's going on. Let us know once again what we got.
So once we got, if you're listening and you're in El Paso area, you want to come see this film in glorious 5.1 sound at a phenomenal theater, the newest theater in town, the Alamo Draft House East on Pelicano Drive in the east side of El Paso, not too far east. And we're going to be screening the film this Wednesday. We're going to be there from 6 to 9 p.m. We're going to have a Q&A. We're going to have Blu-rays and Tony Romo signed the football cards and helmets and raffles and just celebrating, what this El Paso crew has done and the people, the community that helped it bring it home. And I think if you're there because you know me, everything, you're part of this journey. I couldn't have done it with every single one of you, including you, Mike, everybody that's been there and that have listened to me and that has supported this and never told me just quit. And for those people, I just want to say thank you. And thank you for doing that, for always being so supportive and genuine support, that you really care, and everybody that be out there. Right. And so if you want to come and be inspired, what we're capable of as El Pasoans, we hope to see you there. And again, if you can't come this Wednesday from 6 to 9, then you will be able to watch it from the comfort of your home soon, this fall 2023. And we will be announcing it on an Instagrams at ZGN Productions, at Now or Never Doc, the official Instagram for the Tony Romo film. And where, you're going to be hearing a lot from us, and hopefully you'll hear from Tony Romo himself through his social medias once it's out on digital.
I cannot wait to see the culmination of this story. Again, we've been, back and forth with this whole thing for 4 years now. A little over 4 years, just, and I feel just so proud watching the way that your story has gone, the way that you've handled all this with grace, because it would have been easy to give up. Everything that was stacked in front of you, it would have been easy to give up. So handling it with the grace that you have, with the attitude, the positive attitude that you have as well, it's been awesome just watching your growth, watching this film's growth, and I cannot wait for that culminating point in fall of 2023.
We will have a date very soon.
Yes.
Thank you for having me, Mike. Always a pleasure.